So I want to say thank you for, for logging on to the Omega Center, for subscribing to this endeavor. Um, I began the Omega Center along with my colleagues, Bree Stoner and Eileen, as a way to gather us in heart and mind for a new being. We are living in a very fractured world. I think we all experience this at various times in our daily lives, and we feel the urge and the need to evolve, to move to a higher level of consciousness and a higher level of being. So thank you for being part of this endeavor for as long as you can be. I hope that this center will provide, as we say, think and become and act, provide material to think. We are living again in such an information-laden age. I mean, we're bombarded by information. I know at times I just feel overwhelmed by all the little bits of information that are just sort of filtering in through my little brain, and you can see it's small. But the brain, sometimes we don't even value, I think, the gift of the human brain, which is part of the human mind. And I take the mind to be more than the brain. I take the mind to include our emotions, our body, our senses. Everything that creates for us a field of information is part of the mind. But I think when our brains are so fatigued, we can't even begin to reflect more deeply, in a mindful way. And so we're just gasping for air. And I feel sometimes that so many people today are just simply gasping for air, just trying to stay alive in a world that the seams are, in a sense, fraying, if not falling apart. So the Omega Center is just our way of participating in love in a fractured world. And so many people ask me, why love? Why love in a fractured world? Because it seems that love isn't a sentiment or an emotion, right? And we think about love as something we fall in and out of. But that's too superficial, and we've become very superficial with regard to love. We have lost the depth of love. And part of the Omega Center, in fact, a good part of it, maybe even the core of it, is to retrieve for ourselves the depth of love. The core being of being is love. And that's Teilhard de Chardin's position, that if science tells us we are energy, religion tells us that energy is constantly longing for ultimate unity. And love is that energy of attraction by which center to center meets towards ultimate unity. And so love at the heart of the universe is not meant to be catchy. It's not meant to draw you in. Maybe it has, and that's great, but it's meant to be so much more. It's meant to be when I wake up in the morning and I ask, who am I? It's meant for us to reflect that I am a creature grounded in love. I am born out of love. I am created to live in love, and I am destined for ultimate love. And that means that every single person has the capacity for love. Every being alive is, in a sense, made for love. And this was Teilhard de Chardin's position as well, in a sense. He said even the molecules are love beings. They're love creatures. Now, to scientists and to us very, very highly educated intellectuals, that just sounds completely ridiculous. And yet, science cannot explain the fundamental forces of the universe as to why they exist at all. They can tell us how they exist and a lot of features of them, but why they exist at all is not outside the realm of science. So, love, we have much to learn by turning our attention to being as love, or being in love. In other words, love as the very definition of being itself. And by doing that, I hope we will build what I might say a community. A community where we can begin to think together. Even if we don't maybe see things together all the time, that is okay. We, again, our own world, which is not based on love, a world that's based on autonomy, a world that's based on power, a world based on money, a world based on status, a world based on ontological difference. You are not me, and I am not you. And that kind of world, does not look for unity. It looks for difference. How am I different from you? How can I separate myself from you? And yet a world of love says that you are essential to who I am, that there is no me apart from you. And because we don't think that way, we don't even have a consciousness of that, that just strikes us as strange or foreign to our own, everyday way of thinking. So the Omega Center poses for itself a very tall task, a wide task, a cosmic task. And I am really delighted to see among the subscribers people from various parts of the country and even from various parts of the world. Because we live now in a world that truly is global, and we need to build our new humanity as a global humanity. A number of you have asked either through Facebook or through email, that you've indicated that you're not able to afford the subscription to the Omega Center, and we are certainly aware that this can be costly for some people. And it's not our intention in any way to foster an elitism, or that we would only allow some upper class, people to be subscribers. We want this to be truly, truly democratic. In other words, everyone is invited to this table. This is a banquet for all. So we do realize the need for an income stream, because that's just the world in which we live. And until we get to either another Bitcoin economy or an alternate economy, we have to work within the one that we're already in. So we do need an income stream, and this does help in that capacity. But we hope that as we build a reserve and are able to bring more people on board and maybe improve our technological outreach, that one day we will be able to offer this to all people without cost, or very, very minimal cost. So I would just say patience and time and patience. Teilhard de Chardin has that beautiful poem on trust in the slow work of time. And part of our difficulty today is that we have learned to be impatient. And it's just, again, the way we have constructed our world. We have constructed a world of fast food, fast driving, fast information, fast electronic information. And so we have a very difficult time with slowed life, slowed living. And I guess we're asking here at the Omega Center, and we need to challenge ourselves, that it does take time to emerge. It takes time to evolve. And I think we must give ourselves and be nice to ourselves, as we undergo this process of emergent evolution into a new level of consciousness, into a new level of heartness and amorization process that Teilhard would speak of. And so I would say to those who are not non-subscribers, please, look at the website at least once a week, because hopefully there will be something for you there to chew on. And we want the content of this website not just to be informational, but to be substantive content that you'll be able to take maybe a line or two and maybe take it as a meditation point, or maybe take it as a mantra of some sort, or just take it to ponder it, whatever you're doing in your life. Whether you're retired, whether you're in school, or you're working full-time, think. In other words, to think is not just this is, I heard this talk. To think is to take the idea in and to go over it in your own being. And that means you need a space within you to think. And that's something I think that we've begun to lose in our own age, right? You have to, in other words, you hold that thought within you. Whether you're a cashier at Macy's, or you're in the grocery store, or you're standing online at a bank, this thought is with you and you are with it. And from my perspective, God is in that whole being of entanglement, the entangled thought in your being. That there's something of absolute love that keeps drawing you to want to ponder this thought, to reflect on it. You may grapple with it and say, I don't agree with it. I don't see it that way, and that's okay. And then you have to say, if you don't see it that way, what do you see? And then name what you see, and try to think, well, why do I see it this way? And what does this thought call me to? If I don't think that love is at the heart of the universe, then what do you think is at the heart of the universe? What do you think is animating your life? and shaping your actions. Because what we're seeing here is that to think ultimately must lead us to love. There is no real knowledge that is not ultimately the truest knowledge is wisdom, and wisdom is knowledge shaped by love. And so what we're asking us when we say think, we're asking, are you thinking in a way that leads you to love in a deeper way? By love, I mean, do you see the good in another person, even though that person may annoy you, even though you may not like what they have to say to you, but can you look at that person and see something more than your own bias, because that person has in some way, caused you to have a bad day. But there is a beauty of that person that you may be blind to because you're blinded by your own ego that's wounded or, hurt in some way. So that kind of thinking that we're asking us to do is to transcend the boundaries that separate us, whether they're emotional boundaries or psychological boundaries or even physical boundaries. And we're asking that the thinking process open up the eye of the inner heart. That's the eye we need to see with today. We see, with our physical eyes, but I think we're mostly blind to love at the heart of every person and love at the heart of this universe. And so, Angela Foligno, who I often quote, has that beautiful saying, as we see, so we love. And the more perfectly and purely we see, the more perfectly and purely we love. And even this is actually, I think, the message of Jesus. What do you want? I want to see, Lord. I want to see. I mean, maybe that's should be written on a mega site as well. Because for Teilhard, it's all about vision. It's all about seeing the world. What do we see? And love is that depth of vision, beyond the physical sight to the eye of the heart. Anton Exupery, right, in his The Little Prince says, it is only with the heart that one sees rightly. Only with the heart that one sees rightly. How often in our daily lives do we see with the heart, right? We're in our frenzied lives. We barely see with, our two physical eyes. And then we're so quick to judge, so quick to dismiss, so reactive, emotionally reactive, that our hearts become hard and they become hardened by our own inability to think in a way that leads us to a deepening of love. So the Omega Center seeks to widen the vision of the human person today, that we may love in a more whole way, to love unto a new life. So welcome aboard, and welcome as my Omega partner in this journey into love.